This will be Thursday, November 20th. We're going to finish our story about the man from the south. And we have the bell work up there. Hopefully people bought their tickets for the talent show. I'll find out today how many we have left at the end. And we're going to go from there. How far did we get yesterday with the story?
Page 2.
What was happening in the story? Let's go this way. What point of view is the story being told in? First person. Who's it following?
People.
Main character.
Well, if it's first person, that means the character's talking to us. What character's talking to us?
Main character.
Works for me. Some guy in the middle of all this, so some dude, we don't know his name yet, is the issue. Where is the story taking place?
Jamaica.
Jamaica, at a pool. And then our main character meets an old man. And that's where he's wearing the hat and he has the shoes. And what did he do with the shoes? Because he's at a beach?
Cut holes.
Poked holes into the top of his shoes. And then we meet a third character. Who's our third character?
The army man.
Close.
The Navy
guy.
Navy man.
And we have the Navy kid come up, and apparently the Navy kid has a bad habit. And what's his bad habit? Smoking. And then we find out apparently the little foreign guy has a bad habit. And what's his bad habit?
Cigars.
Smoking of cigars. He talks about having a crocodile case. And then we also find out apparently the old guy has another bad habit. Gambling. And that's when he decides that he tries to set up the bet, the little gamble thing. And what is it that they're going to be betting on?
A car and a finger. Little left pinky.
That's what they're betting with. What are they betting on?
Use a lighter.
A lighter. What are they going to? They say, who's using the lighter?
Navy man.
The Navy man. The kid. Nicely done. What does he have to do with the lighter?
Light it 10 times.
10 times. And when it says 10 times running, it doesn't mean running. It just means 10 times in a row without it missing. If he does it 10 times in a row without it missing, what does he get? A car. And if it doesn't, it misses one time, what does the old man win? He wins a finger. Cameron. Oh my gosh. There's a kid from third period who's special. Yes.
Okay, well, two things. You know the guy that was chasing me?
Yeah.
Spike Sitter? His
Yeah.
name is Josh Nettles.
Okay.
And he took his pencil too.
Okay. He's a horrible kid. Probably shouldn't hang out with him. Fun stuff.
He hangs out with us.
Yeah. Well, then that's your bad choice in friends. So, Jack,
Well, I was looking for it, and then.
I'm guessing it's gone.
Yeah.
Jake.
Can you wipe the lighter so I wasn't clear?
Then we got to the back side of it. Is that correct? Let's see. Did we get to the back side of the paper?
Yeah.
Where it says I don't get it. Oh, how is he betting his finger? What's the guy going to do?
Chop it off.
Chop it off. That's where we're going to get to the idea of chopping it off here in just a moment.
Wait.
Zach?
Okay, does it ever say in the story what he does with the finger?
I don't know. Have we finished the story?
No.
That's what we're going to get to today. So we're on the back side, so now we can get into it. We're talking to the fact, I think where it says the boy sat quite still. Does the boy agree to the bet?
Yeah. Not yet.
No, he's like, jumping jeepers, that's a crazy bet. The old man's like, well, then you're a wussy. And basically makes fun of the kid. The kid's like, yeah, but I'm a wussy with 10 fingers. But then he realizes that at least he's not playing with his phone and losing points.
I'm looking at the sky right now.
Oh, okay. Just, sorry, that's all I knew. I thought I got to yell at you. I got excited. Yes.
May I get this to Jack?
Sure. How very kind of you. All right.
But doesn't it cost points?
The boy, sorry. The boy sat quite still, staring at the bathers in the pool. Then he remembered suddenly he hadn't lighted his cigarette. He put it between his lips, cupped his hands around the lighter, and flipped the wheel. The wick lighted and burned with a small, steady, yellow flame. And the way he held his hands, the wind didn't get to it at all. Could I have a light too? I said. Gee, I'm sorry, I forgot you didn't have one. I held out my hand for the lighter, but he stood up and came over to do it for me. Thank you, I said, and he returned to his seat. You, having a good time? Fine. It's pretty nice here. They're having that awkward conversation because the boy's thinking. And what's it the boy thinking about right now?
The bet or not.
Yeah, whether he wants to bet, because he's like, oh, I could use a car. So he's doing that awkward, trying to think about it, and of course the main character is just sort of like, hey, you could could lose a finger. Fun conversation. So they're just sort of like babbling at each other. Jink.
So he's not talking to old man anymore?
No, I mean old man's there, but he's talking to the kid and the unnamed dude are talking to each other. There was a silence then, and I could see that the little man had succeeded in disturbing the boy with his absurd proposal. He was sitting there very still, and it was obvious that a small tension was beginning to build up inside him. Then he started shifting about in his seat, rubbing his chest, stroking the back of his neck. Finally, he placed both hands on his knees and began tapping his fingers against his kneecaps. And soon he was tapping with one of his feet as well. Okay, now, just let me check up on this bet of yours. You say we go up to your room, and if I make this lighter light 10 times running, I win a Cadillac. If it misses just once, I forfeit the little finger on my left hand. Is that right? Certainly. That is the bet. But I think you are afraid. Well, what do we do if I lose? Do I have to hold my finger out while you chop it off? Oh, no! That would be no good. And you might be tempted to refuse to hold it out. What I should do, I should tie one of your hands to the table before we started, and I should stand there with a knife, ready to go chop the moment your lighter missed. What year's the Cadillac? Excuse? I not understand. What year? How old is the Cadillac? Ah, how old? Yes, it is last year. Quite new car. But I see you are not betting, man. Americans never are. The boy paused for just a moment, and he glanced first at the English girl, then at me. Yeah, he said sharply. I'll bet you. So this is what the old man's offering him, a Cadillac, to give you an idea. What is it the old man's doing to the kid when they're talking?
Persuading.
How is he persuading him?
Smack
Smack talk. Nicely done. Basically, that reverse psychology, basically, he's just calling him a wussy, that idea. He's like, oh, don't worry about it, little wussy boy. You don't have to do that. It's a big boy bet. You're not really a big boy. You can just stay over there with your 10 fingers. Real men over here doing bets. And, of course, and we know, what is it that this kid does for a living? Well, why is he here on the island?
Navy.
Yeah, Navy. So he's a big, tough military person. And so the guy's basically calling him a wussy. So the kid's like, no, I'll do the bet. Yeah. And so basically the old man just played him to get him to go out there and bet his finger. Cheeky.
I bet there's something wrong with the Cadillac or like something in it or something like
How awful of you. Why can't it just be a normal bet for a finger?
Bomb.
Bogart?
Is this kid like teenager?
I think he says like 18 or 19. Yeah.
What about that?
12 or 11.
No, 18 or 19. He's old enough to lose a finger. Zach?
that.
Does it say what year it takes place?
It does not, but knowing the other clues in there, it's shortly like after World War II, so like 1940-ish something. Yes?
How old is the person that's doing the bet?
That's a good question. Man, if only we'd read the rest of the story while we were absent.
I did.
Then you should be fine, because I told you that.
Oh.
Yeah. See, the boy calls. Good. Good! The little man clapped his hands together quietly once. Fine! We do it now! And you, sir, he turned to me, you would perhaps be good enough to, what you call it, to referee? He had pale, almost colorless eyes with tiny, bright black pupils. Well, I think it's a crazy bet. I don't think I like it very much. Nor do I, said the English girl. It was the first time she'd spoken. I think it's a stupid, ridiculous bet. Are you serious about cutting off this boy's finger if he loses? Certainly I am. Also about giving him Cadillac if he wins. Come now, we go to my room. He stood up. You'd like to put on some clothes first? He said. Not being creepy, but where are they currently at the... So what's the kid wearing? Yeah, swim trunks. So the guy's like, you want to put on some clothes before we go up there? So, did the boy agree to the bet?
Yeah.
Yes, he did. No, the boy answered. I'll come like this. Then he turned to me. I'd consider it a favor if you'd come along and referee. All right, I'll come along, but I don't like the bet. Hey, you come too, he said to the girl. You come and watch. Because that's what chicks like. They like watching guys get their fingers cut off. Now, the guy's not stupid, because you don't go up to some guy's random room. Yes, magic phone.
Do you have Connor Stockton?
I have that child, yes.
Can you send to the office? He's leaving for the day.
Done.
Thank you.
He's gonna be at the dawn again.
You're gonna want the end of the story, Connor. So here's the end of the story. It'll be on my desk, right? Jane?
I'm gonna be leaving at 1:30. No, 1:15.
That is fascinating. It does not affect me at all.
Yeah.
And so you have the because he knows you don't want to go up into a strange man's room by yourself. Who's he bringing with him?
My friends.
Who the girl and the dude. So he's like, hey, you guys come with me, so I'm not up there by myself. Because that would be creepy. The little man led the way back through the garden to the hotel. He was animated now and excited, and that seemed to make him bounce up higher than ever on his toes as he walked along. I live in Annex, he said. You like to see car first? It's just here. He took us to where we could see the front driveway of the hotel, and he stopped and pointed to a sleek, pale green Cadillac parked close by. There she is, the green one. You like? Say, that's a nice car, the boy said. All right, well now we go up and see if you can win her. We followed him into the annex. Just means at a hotel, it's like instead of like the big building, it's like separate fancy houses off
Like
that
a
like
condo?
around it. Yeah, so like a little condo, if you will. So there's like little areas around the side. Like it?
Wait, how would he drive a car if he's he's just gonna be like on his own?
Yeah, I'm guessing he could probably sell it. Or that's a good question because he lives on the Navy boat. He's only here, but he might not think that one through. Shh, there's a car,
Maybe
a shiny
transport.
car with wheels. We followed him into the annex and up one flight of stairs. He unlocked his door, and we all trooped into what was a large, pleasant double bedroom. There was a woman's dressing gown lying across the bottom of one of the beds. First, he said, we have a little drink. The drinks were on a small table in the far corner, all ready to be poured, and there was ice and plenty of glasses. He began to make the drinks, but meanwhile he'd rung the bell, and now there was a knock on the door, and a maid came in. Ah, he said, taking a wallet from his pocket and pulling out a pound note. You will do something for me now, please? He gave the maid the pound. You keep that, because where is it taking place? What country? Yeah, they don't have dollars. They had pounds, shillings, like in English, British stuff. That's like a pound note, which is like a dollar note. You will do something for me, please. You keep that. And now we're going to play a little game in here. And I want you to go off and find for me three things. I want some nails, I want a hammer, and I want a chopping knife. A butcher's chopping knife, which you can borrow from the kitchen. You can get that. Yes? A chopping knife? The maid opened her eyes wide and clasped her hands in front of her. You mean a real chopping knife? Yes, of course. Come on now, please. You can get those things surely for me. Yes, sir, I'll try, sir. Surely I'll try to get them. And she went. Well, when they went into the room, what was the thing you noticed?
Dress.
That's going to play a role later on.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Like, there should be like scary movies like that. Ring, ring, ring.
And that there apparently there's a soundtrack playing in the background. And then what is it he asked for from the maid?
Chopping knife, hammer, and nails.
Chopping knife, hammer, and nails. Just
Okay,
the
there's a
idea.
lot of blood on
It's
it.
the ones that you use for chopping through bones, like for butchers and stuff like that. So that's the chopping knife, and then also the hammer and nails. And we'll get to why the hammer and nails in a second too.
I have
Zach? It's just like we call them dollars. It's just the nickname for it. Yeah,
I have like an itty bitty one that's like a real knife, but it's like really tiny.
sounds adorable. The little man handed round the drinks. We stood there. And see, the old guy's nice. He's giving him drinks first, some alcohol, because that way if you get your finger cut off, you want to be,
Oh, no,
numb.
it's gonna be true.
And so you don't want to be like, it hurts so bad. He's like, oh, I don't feel so bad now. So that's why, see, the old guy, full of love, he's helping him out.
I can pass them out.
We stood there and sipped them. The boy, with the long, freckled face and the pointed nose, bare-bodied, except for a pair of faded brown swim trunks. The English girl, large-boned, fair-haired girl, wearing a pale blue swimsuit, who watched the boy over the top of her glass all the time. The little man, with the colorless eyes, standing there in his immaculate white suit, drinking from his glass and looking at the girl in her pale blue swimsuit. I didn't know what to make of it all. The man seemed serious about the bet, and he seemed serious about the business of cutting off the finger, but what if the boy lost? Then we'd have to rush him to the hospital in the Cadillac that he hadn't won. Well, that'd be a fine thing. It'd be a silly, unnecessary thing, so far as I could see. So just to set the scene for you, they're all in the room, drinking their drinks, and you have the boy just sort of being like, I'm gonna get a car soon. And then who's sitting there staring at him?
Girl.
Yeah, the girl's like, "You're a freaking idiot," but she's just sitting there staring at him. And then who's staring at the girl?
Creepy guys.
The creepy guy. And he's like, "You're a girl," and he's just sitting there staring at her. And then who's staring at the creepy guy?
Freckled face.
That one
No.
guy.
Yeah, the speaker. He's like, "You're a creepy guy." So like they're all like just staring at each other in like this big circle. Like there's all like they're like staring, like in this weird little circle. And they're like, just like, "What's gonna happen next?" The joys that happen when you're on an island.
Log out there.
"Don't you think this is rather a silly bet?" I said. "Well, I think it's a fine bet," the boy answered.
Of course he
He'd already downed one large drink. "I think it's a stupid, ridiculous bet," the girl said. "What'll happen if you lose?" "It won't matter. Come to think of it, I can't remember ever in my life having had any use for the little finger on my left hand. Here he is." The boy took hold of the finger. "Here he is, and he hasn't ever done a thing for me yet. So why shouldn't I bet him? I think it's a fine bet." The little man smiled and picked up the shaker and refilled our glasses. Before we begin, I will present to the referee the key de car." He produced a car key from his pocket and gave it to me. "The papers, the owning papers and insurance are in the pocket of the car." Then the maid came in again. In one hand, she carried a small chopper, the kind used by butchers for chopping meat bones, and in the other, a hammer and a bag of nails. "Good, you get them all. Thank you. Now, you can go." He waited until the maid had closed the door. Then he put the implements on one of the beds and said, "Now we prepare ourselves, yes?" And to the boy, "Help me, please, with this table. We carry it out a little." It was the usual kind of hotel writing desk, just a plain rectangular table about 4 feet by 3 with a blotting pad, ink, pens, paper. They carried it out to the room away from the wall and removed the writing things. I've not given you the end of the story. It's on a separate sheet, so I'll give it to you at the end. I just don't want you reading ahead, you little cheaters. Zach? What does what mean? Impalement?
No, the,
Implements? Tools. The tools that you're going to use for something. So that means like the hammer and the knife and all that. He's putting them off to the side. Bogart?
I think he's going to crucify his hand.
Like just right through the middle of it? Thanks. Jake?
Oh, okay. Don't you think it's kind of... Oh, yep, I told you. Okay. Don't you think it's kind of weird how he lives in a hotel? That
Well-
means he must move a lot.
He doesn't necessarily live in a hotel. He's just currently in a hotel.
Which means he probably moves a lot, which is probably like a murderer, which is probably scary.
Maybe he's on vacation.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be horrible and creepy. It could be happy. Cameron?
Okay, I have another
Uh-huh.
assumption of this. He's probably done this bet before since he's at a hotel.
We will find evidence coming up to tell you whether it's his first time or not. So coming up here in just a moment, you're going to get evidence. And now, he said, a chair. He picked up a chair and placed it beside the table. He was very brisk and very animated, like a person organizing games at a children's party. And now, the nails. I must put in nails. He fetched the nails and he began to hammer them into the top of the table. We stood there, the boy, the girl, and I, holding drinks in our hands, watching the little man at work. We watched him hammer 2 nails into the table, about 6 inches apart. He didn't hammer them right home. He allowed a small part of each one to stick up. Then he tested them for firmness with his fingers. That's my table. There's my 2 nails. Anyone would think the guy had done this before, I told myself. He never hesitates. Table, nails, hammer, kitchen chopper. He knows exactly what he needs and how to arrange it. Which tells us what?
He's done it before.
What? And now, he said, all we want is some string. He went and found some string. All right. At last, we are ready. Will you please sit here at the table? He said to the boy. The boy put his glass away and sat down. Now place the left hand between these 2 nails. The nails are only so I can tie your hand in place. All right? Good. Now I tie your hand secure to the table. So, he wound the string around the boy's wrist, here. Then several times around the wide part of the hand, here. Then he fastened it tight to the nails. He made a good job of it, and when he'd finished, there wasn't any question about the boy being able to draw his hand away, but he could move his fingers. Now please, clench the fist, all except for the little finger. You must leave the little finger sticking out, lying on the table. Excellent, excellent. Now we're ready. All right. With your right hand, you manipulate the lighter. But one moment, please. He skipped over to the bed, picked up the chopper, came back, and stood beside the table with the chopper in his hand. We are all ready, he said. Mr. Referee, you must say to begin. Now, so you have the table, and you have the 2 nails that are into it from there, and he wraps string around the wrist, and then string around this big meaty part, has the wrist put there, and then ties the string around the 2 nails. So that way the wrist can't move. And then what does he have the boy do?
Pinky out.
Put the pinky out, and then he stands right above it, right there with the big old chopping knife ready to go. So that's how it's set up, so that way as soon as the kid misses, and it comes straight down. Alright, to make sure we get done, I gotta keep going. Alright. The English girl was standing there in her pale blue swimsuit right behind the boy's chair. She was just standing there, not saying anything. The boy was sitting quite still, holding the lighter in his right hand, looking at the chopper. The little man was looking at me. Are you ready? I asked the boy. Yeah, I'm ready. And you? I asked the little man. Oh, quite ready, he said. And he lifted the chopper up in the air and held it there about 2 feet above the boy's finger, ready to chop. The boy watched it, but he didn't flinch, and his mouth didn't move at all. He merely raised his eyebrows and frowned. All right, go ahead. The boy asked, would you please count out loud the number of times I light it? Yeah, I'll do that. With his thumb, he raised the top of the lighter, and again, with the thumb, he gave the wheel a sharp flick. The flint sparked, the wick caught fire, and burned with a small yellow flame. 1, I called. He didn't blow the flame out. He closed the top of the lighter on it, waited for perhaps 5 seconds before opening it again. He flicked the wheel very strongly, and once more there was a small flame burning on the wick. 2! No one else said anything. The boy kept his eyes on the lighter. The little man held the chopper up in the air, and he too was watching the lighter. Do you guys know what suspense is?
Yeah.
What is the definition of suspense?
Appearance
Con?
of the
I guess it's kind of like when it's not like they're leaving you hanging, but it's kind of like dragging on, I guess. They kind of like tell you they kind of keep saying more, and they get you like really excited and wondering
It
what's
hooked
gonna
into
happen.
it. It makes you want to yell, shut up, man, just keep reading the story.
Yeah.
Which part of the mountain does suspense happen during? Close. Rising action. And then you have the peak of your suspense when you get to it. All right. We're at, what number did we get to? 2. Making sure. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7! Obviously, it was one of those lighters that worked. The fling gave a big spark, and the wick was the right length. I watched the thumb snapping the top down onto the flame, then a pause, then the thumb raising the top once more. This was an all-thumb operation. That's an important thing to note. The thumb did everything. I took a breath, ready to say 8. The thumb flicked the wheel, the flint sparked, and the little flame appeared. 8! I said. And as I said it, the door opened. We all turned and saw a woman standing in the doorway. A small, black-haired woman, rather old, who stood there for about 2 seconds, then rushed forward shouting, "Carlos! Carlos!" She grabbed his wrist, took the chopper from him, threw it on the bed, took hold of the little man by the lapels of his white suit, and began shaking him very vigorously, talking to him fast and loud and fiercely all the time in some Spanish-sounding language. She shook him so fast you couldn't see him anymore. He became a faint, misty, quickly moving outline, like the spokes of a turning wheel. Then she slowed down, and the little man came into view again, and she hauled him across the room and threw him backward onto one of the beds. He sat on the edge of it, blinking his eyes, twisting his neck to see if it would still turn on his neck, turning his head if it would still turn on his neck. "I am so sorry," the woman said. "I am so terribly sorry that this should happen." She spoke almost perfect English. "It is too bad," she went on. "I suppose it is really my fault. For 10 minutes I leave him alone to go and have my hair washed, and I come back, and he is at this again." She looked sorry and deeply concerned. The boy was untying his hand from the table. The English girl and I stood there and said nothing. "He is a menace," the woman said. "Down where we live at home, he has taken altogether 47 fingers from different people, and he has lost 11 cars. In the end, they threatened to have him put away somewhere. That's why I brought him up here." "You're only having a little bet," mumbled the little man from the bed. "I suppose he bet you a car?" the woman said. "Yeah," the boy answered. "A Cadillac." "He has no car. It's mine. And that makes it worse, that he should bet you and he has nothing to bet with. I'm ashamed and very sorry about it all." She seemed an awfully nice woman. "Well, here's the key to your car." I put it on the table. "We were only having a little bet," mumbled the man. "He hasn't anything left to bet with," the woman said. "He hasn't a thing in the world. Not a thing. As a matter of fact, I myself won it all from him a long while ago. It took time. A lot of time. And it was hard work. But I won it all in the end." She looked up at the boy and she smiled. A slow, sad smile. And she came over and put out a hand to take the key from the table. And I can still see it now. That hand of hers had only one finger on it and a thumb. And that's where it ends. And we'll talk about the end. So, with the end of it, we find out that she's apparently connected to him. Do you know how she's connected to him? The first guess people usually have is that it would be his mother. But, how old is he?
Like old.
Yeah, like 50 or 60, so usually a mother's maybe at least 30 years older than that, so that would make her like ancient. And usually ancient people aren't going around throwing people on beds. So probably not going to be that. Wife is the next guess. But if you were married to someone like this and you find out that they're crazy cutting off fingers, what can you do?
Divorce.
Get a divorce and get the heck away.
It's sister.
So the next guess would be sister. If it's a sister, you can't divorce siblings, you're kind of stuck with them. So my guess is it's a sister. So imagine that you are the sister of this person, and you care for them because they're your sibling, but they have a horrible addiction. What is his addiction to?
Cutting off fingers.
Not cutting off fingers,
Smoking.
not smoking, gambling. Now the problem with gambling is that the addiction is not to the thing you win. The addiction is to the thrill of the gambling. So he's addicted to just the thrill of gambling and winning. The problem is, was he rich or poor?
Poor.
Well, he's poor now.
Yeah.
He was rich at one time. Being rich, he didn't need money, so he needed something to gamble that would keep it fun. So he found something to gamble on that people don't want to lose when you don't care about money. And what was it he found to gamble on?
Fingers.
Fingers. And all of a sudden that made the gambling exciting for him. So he decides to gamble on fingers. And with cards. And apparently, how many did he win?
11.
47. How many did he lose?
11.
Apparently his odds were really good. So he won 47, lost 11. The problem is, being that good, what were they going to do with him?
Kill him.
Yeah, they're going to put him away. So I don't know if that means jail or crazy person house or what, but they're going to get rid of him in some way. So his sister has to stop that from happening. The problem is you can't just take his stuff because it's his. What's her only way of getting stuff away from him? Betting him. What's the only thing she can bet him?
Fingers.
Fingers. So in order to save her brother, she has to bet against him to get his stuff. And of course, we find out that apparently she lost a lot. Because what is she left with?
A thumb.
Because I told you the important thing when doing the lighter, what is the important thing you have to have? So that's why we find out she's left with just that one finger and the thumb. So that she can still do that and not have the other fingers and thumbs on there. Plus, where was she previously when she left him? Getting her hair. Why did she have to get her hair washed? No, because she can't do it herself with her little lobster fingers. Those of you against the wall are standing. You get to stay here.